Hey guys, what is going on? I am coming back with another one of those sports story type videos. I haven't put one out in a while, but you guys seem to really like them. So let me know in the comments if you still do like these types of videos. So for this story, we're going to have to go back to the summer of 2009. I was 9 years old and I turned 10 in August, so just give you a little age frame there. The summer of 2009 was a big summer for me in baseball. That was a summer that baseball really just, clicked for me. I understood the game probably because I was playing softball more, I was getting older, and I was just able to sit through a game and understand everything, or I guess close to everything that was going on. So I was watching the Yankees much more consistently, and while watching them much more consistently, I started to notice other players on the field besides Derek Jeter. And I say that because when you're like 6, 7, 8 years old in New York, when you think Yankees, you think Derek Jeter. And that's probably what all the kids my age would say or agree with me with that is when you're a kid, the Yankees, it's Derek Jeter. And that's basically almost the only person you think of when you're that age when someone says Yankees. But when I was around 9, 10 years old, I started to notice the other players on the field, and, I started to actually like watching them play and be like, oh, cheering them on, like I would Derek Jeter. But let me just put a little disclaimer out there. With that being said, Derek Jeter obviously still holds a very special place in my heart. First, probably celebrity I knew, like as a child, first famous person I knew, my person outside of a person I didn't know in real life that I knew. First sports role model, He was the person and player that made me want to play shortstop as a kid, and when I did play shortstop, I, obviously wanted to emulate him with a jump throw and all of that. So I just had to put that little disclaimer out there, so no disrespect to Derek Jeter. So as I was becoming more of an intense Yankee fan, I realized I had to prove to people that I was no poser, that I was no bandwagon fan. I was the real deal. I wasn't messing around. So, because, 9, 10-year-old girls, people aren't thinking you're the most serious Yankee fan. So I came to the conclusion that to have people believe that I'm a super serious Yankee fan, I had to say my favorite player was another player besides Derek Jeter, even though Derek Jeter probably my favorite Yankee that I've watched, or even almost all time. So yeah, just putting that out there. So I came to that conclusion that I had to say someone was my favorite player besides Derek Jeter. Like I said previously, I was watching these other players on the roster, enjoying watching these other players on the roster play, having fun rooting them on and all that, but there was this one player and it just clicked when I saw him. I knew this is going to be my new favorite player. This is going to be the guy I tell people is my favorite player, and I don't know why it was. It just clicked like that. Maybe it was because of his personality. He was just so out there. Seemed like he was bouncing off the walls, so energetic, big smile. Maybe it was because of the mohawk. I don't know, but when I first saw him play, I knew Nick Swisher, aka Swish-alicious, was going to be my new favorite player, and basically from there, it's just history. He became my new favorite player. Whew, I did the work for him to be my new favorite player. I mean, magazine cutouts, newspaper cutouts, driving to 5 different stores to get his jersey, baseball card engraved plaques, little memorabilia things, all of that. It's all in boxes in my basement right now because, I've cleaned out my room since I was 10, 11, 12 years old. But I just was so insanely obsessed, I want to say, with Nick Swisher in a good way, not a creepy way. I was a kid, just loved Nick Swisher. That's really the word I should use. I loved Nick Swisher. I really did. Just, I don't know, I guess it was his personality. Like, he was almost like a 9, 10, 11-year-old kid out there on the field with the way he played, with the big smile he played with, and that just makes him relatable, or made him relatable to me as a kid. I remember one game I went to, I was sitting by the first base foul line and I yelled swish, swish, and I waved to him and he waved back at me, and oh my gosh, that made my full year. I'll never forget that, and just I freaked out. But that was the type of guy he was, and the guy he still is. He just loved the fans. He was a fan-first type of player. Obviously, he was a fan favorite, but he just loved the fans, and he loved playing at Yankee Stadium. Even I watched him in Old Timers Day. He just, big smile, energetic guy. There's no way you cannot like Nick Swisher. So now we're getting into middle school and stuff, and around that time, this is when Justin Bieber, became really hot, and all the girls were like, oh my gosh, Justin Bieber, and I was in the corner like, oh my gosh, Nick Swisher. Yes, that's how my middle school experience went. Actually, in 6th grade, we had to do this almost like time capsule thing, answer all these questions in 6th grade, then you get the sheet back when you're in 12th grade, and it's basically so you can just laugh at yourself and see how you've changed. So there's this one section that said, who do you have a crush on? And obviously you were supposed to write someone in your class, but me, 6th grade me wrote Nick Swisher. Like, oh my gosh, it's just like, what were you doing, 11-year-old Lauren? What were you doing? I guess it was cute, I was 11 years old. You gotta say it was cute. A little 11-year-old me. I was so tiny when I was 11 too, so. Obviously you guys know the story. The story is about to go downhill, take a sad turn. So when I was in about 7th or 8th grade, I honestly don't remember which one it was, Nick Swisher signed with the Cleveland Indians during free agency. So this was right when I had my first smartphone, got my first iPhone or something. So I did not have the sports updates like going on my phone when I was that age like I do now, because now I have a sports alert coming in every 5 seconds. But then I just was not that tech savvy, did not have alerts or even apps set up like that. So I was at my grandma's house. She used to live next door to me. It was, I want to say, the day before Christmas Eve, and I was sitting on the couch and the news was on. I was over there with my dad and her, and I see a picture of Nick Swisher in a Cleveland Indians hat, and then the news lady says, Nick Swisher is signed to deal with the Cleveland Indians, and I just fell to the floor from the couch and started screaming and crying, just screaming and crying. And the next thing I do is I just literally run out of there without saying anything, run home in the dark, and I just run into my house screaming and crying and fall on the floor. Mom's like, oh my gosh, Lauren, what's the matter? Oh my gosh, Lauren, what's the matter? And I'm not answering. I'm just screaming and crying. And she must have been so freaked out because, your daughter comes in screaming and crying from running outside in the dark. You're probably not thinking, oh, a player from the Yankees must have signed with another team. That must be it. No, you're probably thinking something really, really bad happened. And I'm just in there crying over this player. I was throwing a temper tantrum. I was laying on the floor hysterically crying and screaming. Oh my gosh, it was so bad. And I was a little old to be acting like this, but I took it so personally. Him signing with the Indians, I took it so personally. I was like, how could he leave us? How could he do this? I thought he loved the fans here. Look at how he played there, always waving to the fans, all of that. How could he leave? And my parents were like, oh, he's from Ohio. He just wanted to go home. When he plays at Yankee Stadium, we'll get tickets and go. And I was like, no, we're not going to watch him play. He's a traitor. All of this. Why would he do that? I was so angry. I was so angry. I went from loving this guy to being so mad at him. It was like he broke my heart. It was almost like that little, I don't know how old I was. I was like 12 or 13, I was probably 12-year-old me. My heart was just broken by some baseball player signing with another team. My first heartbreak was a baseball player signing to another team. Honestly, it was. And I was just so upset, but I got over it, I want to say 3 days later. It took me that long to just get over it because I don't know, you put so much time and energy into supporting that player and cheering for that player. I mean, there was a time, one season, it didn't last long, but I was recording what he did every single game on my computer. It was so intense. I mean, it was also because I loved baseball, so that's why I was doing it, but obviously I chose to record Nick Swisher's stats and all that because he's my favorite player, so of course you got to record your favorite player's stats. But it was just so heartbreaking for me, and my relatives actually used to tease me before he signed with the Indians that oh, he got traded, oh, he left, and this, and I would get really scared for a second, but then I would know oh, they're just kidding. But, then it happened for real. It happened for real. My heart got broken for real. And I would say after 1 or 2 years, as I got older, more mature, I realized, I'm not mad at Nick Swisher anymore. I'm over it. And yeah, to this day, I still love Nick Swisher, his attitude, his personality, all that. I love that he's on Instagram now. That's just great for me because when he was on the Yankees, he wasn't on Instagram or anything. So now I can just see him on Instagram just being Swish. He just is Swish on Instagram, on his Instagram stories, just being almost like a maniac. I'm not saying that in a bad way, I'm saying that in a good way because he just has so much energy, and I love it. And he has 2 kids now. And he's married, so that's crazy too. That's all I got for this video, guys. Let me know if you like these sports story type videos, and if you do, I'll see if I can pull, a few more sports stories out of my brain, because I'm sure I have a few more in there. Make sure you guys drop a like and subscribe. See you later.